Can you hear me? Okay, great. Um, let's start. So today we are only three now so far. Okay. Okay, the others will come. Yeah. Let's start my screen. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now. Chat. Okay. Last time we talked about the translation because if I remember correctly, a lot of you are stuck your projects in the translation part, right? So if I remember correctly, we did we put our languages in server. I was thinking we can move this from the server. We can move this in the application in some sort of constant file. So we could, for example, take this here, move it from the database, and we go to our app here and create a new file. Let's say it's constants. Yes, so we're going to keep the constants here. So let's make a variable here. Let's say this is export const length. So the first thing today, we're going to just translate the menu. We're going to have it like this. And I'm thinking that this languages here, we are going to structure them for each component. So we're going to have, for example, for menu, or for each component, we're going to have translation key. The translation Angular, you could do it not very easily with some translation pipes. There is an option for Angular to do internationalization, and anyway, it's a bit it's more complicated process. There are libraries that allow you to translate. You can just find, for example, NGX. I think it's NGX Translate. You can install it with npm, and then you can just put your translations there. And but the idea is that let's for this exercise we'll do it manually. So, for example, let's put in our languages. First of all, let's define some sort of structure, so our IDE can we can use IntelliSense to access those information. So, for example, I was thinking to have something like let's say English something and French something. In our case. And for each one, let's say today I think we're going to only translate the menu because it's too much stuff. We can do the others. So let's say menu here, and we're going to say menu, same. And in our menu, we have home, about us, our pizzas, and contact us. So we're going to say here, I'm going to make another object here. Okay, so in for the English part, I'm going to say for the home key is home. About focus. Say pizza is here, and have our pizzas Let's put it here cards. Oh, card, whatever. And contact gonna be contact us. Okay, so for French, I think you're gonna need to help me here too. So we're gonna have the same properties here. We're gonna have home is accurate, I think. So sorry in advance for mistyping. About we have purple, I think. So again, feel free to jump in and correct me here if this is wrong. Then we have pizza. So obviously it's pizzas, but it's not French. So most pizzas. Apropos, thanks. Okay. Then we have cart, and cart is panier, right? Hello, hello. So we're gonna have panier, panier, and we have contact. It's like this. Okay. So we have our translations here. So as you can see, we have a kind of a structure here. So we can type this if we want. So I encourage you to do this actually. So let's create some interfaces. So for example, we can see that langues can be English or French. So we can say that export interface ilang, let's say. And here we have English, and we have French. And let's say this is ilang set here, which doesn't exist. So we need to create it. So it's export interface ilang set. So it's not mandatory for you to do this, but it's a good practice to type your structures. So you get the advantage the ID. So for the ilang set, we have in our case gonna have a menu, and here menu is gonna be menu set, menu lang set. Lang set. So here you can add, for example, footer and so on, make footer, lang set, and so on. But for now, we're just going to keep the menu. Let's create the menu set. Word interface menu long set. And here we can just take this. Yes. And we find the data structure here. So again, it's not mandatory for you to do this. It will work without it just fine. But it's going to be easier for you to debug. The ID will give you errors in advance. So it's going to reduce the amount of type errors that you get in JavaScript. So here, now it's ilang. So you see we don't have any errors. This means that the structure here corresponds to what we have here. Right? So next thing that we need to do is see the application still runs. And console seems okay. Okay, so we said that we're going to translate the header. So the values in the set are the IDs. No, they are not the IDs in the HTML. So it's just a structure that I define. For example, we're going to use the translation for home. Like here, for example, instead of having the home, we're going to have something like translate home, or I don't know. We're gonna define some way of translating this value here. So in our header components here, we are gonna make, let's say, a new property called translations. And it's gonna be I menu lang set, because we only care about the menu translations here. So as you can see, we can import the data structure from the context file, and it's going to be by default no. And let's make another variable called language, and let's also make a constant for the allowed length. Let's say we only allow ports type. So since the type is not interface, we're going to make export type allowed once, and it's going to be either English, or it's going to be French. So it's going to be a string that can be only English or French. So in our header component here, have a local variable called language, and it's allowed length. So remove this up. And by default, we're going to set it to English. Fine. So what we need to do now is that we need to create a service to translate this. So we need to decouple from the store service. Now we have a store service here. So we don't have any call to languages here anymore. So we need to create a new service. How do we create a new service? Neither. The constant yes, I just create a new file. Yeah, I just created a file. That was it. So what I did was I just defined I took the values that I put last time in the service, in the database. So I wanted to make it easier for you, so I didn't want to use the database for this. I just wanted to have the translation locally in the application. So I just created the structure, like the lang, ilang, this one. Then each language has a lang set, like this. So we know that each lang set has menu, footer, whatever we can add here. The menu has a menu lang set, which is this value. So it's forcing me to have the same values on both sides. So let's create a new service. So let's say we need to go to our course for okay, pizza. We're fine. So here we're going to say ng generate service, and it's going to be a long service. So now we have a new service here. And in this service, we're just going to have local variable, let's say language, which is allowed length, by default again in English. And we are going to have length, which is a I length set. Here. Okay. So we're going to need to get the translation. Let's say get translation. It's going to return an I lang set. So right now we just want to return something like this structure here, right? We just want to return one language. So it's going to return this. So in our constructor, we're going to say actually, let's make a method to change the language first. I'm going to say change language. I'm going to pass a parameter language, which is allowed lang. And we're going to say this language equals language. And we're going to say this once equals once. So we go in the constants and we return this language. Here we need to import this. So this comes from here. So we set the language and then return the language. Make sense for you? Anyone else? Basically, you can make your own structure, you can make your own translator. Basically, just switch. When we switch the language, we say that our lang set is this one. Fine. So if we're here, let's actually, when we instantiate this service, when the application loads, let's say this language, or actually, let's say this change lang by default to this language. So by default, we're going to have English, so we're going to return the lang set. So since we're here, let's also store this, the local storage. Local storage, set item, have language, and language. And in our constructor, we're going to say this language equals what? Local storage, get item, language. So here we might have an issue because the local storage might be empty. And we have an error here that the language is the allowed lang, so it's our type allowed lang. But every value that comes from local storage comes as a string. So we can force this. We can say as allowed lang. And if there's nothing in the local storage, you just return English. Right. So this seems okay. So local storage, we set the item and the change language. We have our header component here. So now what we need to do is that we need to add the translation. We need to change these values here with the values we want translation. So we're going to say here translations home. Translations about. I think it was pizzas here. You know, always look at the constant. Pizzas, cards, and so on. Let's copy this. Pizzas. And contacts. And let's remove this forms from here. And let's make another bar on the right and say plus nav for nav, and it's nav for. And here I'm just gonna say gonna move the card. Oh. Let's see how this looks. So we have an issue because 303 property home of move in the header component HTML. So what might happen is that the service might not be available when this translation is called. So what we can do is that we can put a question mark here. So this is an Angular way of saying if there's nothing, show nothing. Don't throw an error. We're just going to put a question mark here. So it's just like saying if translation is not move around defined, show contact. If translation is not move around defined. So instead of just doing that, we're just gonna force the value. So right now, we have nothing here because why? Let's see. More translation. Yeah, because in our language is not set. Okay, it's on this one. So I need to say here this language equals this. We actually need to import the service because we haven't used the lang service. We're going to say private lang service. See this lang language. And we need to also create here change lang method in our header components. So we're going to take, as in the service, we're going to take a language. So our language. I'm going to say this language equals language. I have this lang change lang. So the service is going to change the language here. Okay. And we're going to say this translations because we have empty because we don't have any lang menu set. We're going to say equals this lang translation menu. So now, still nothing. Great, awesome. Because we didn't call the methods, so we're going to say this change lang and language. So now we have like this. So we show the values from our constant folder file. What do we need now? We need a button, right, to change the languages. So yeah, we'll cut here. So let's put in our header component in our right navigation. We're gonna have 2 buttons. So we're gonna have button times 2. So the first button is gonna be FR. The second one is gonna be English. That's equals something. Let's see how they look. So we have 2 buttons here, French and English. And actually, let's group them. Let's make this button group. And move them inside. Now they look like a switcher. So we need to bind to an event, right? So we need to bind to the click event. and to call the change lang function. How do we do this in Angular? Can anyone type? Yeah. I'll click, do what? So we both have click here. Okay, click and then what? We need to call a method from the component, and the component is here. Change lang with what? For each one. So you said equals change lang. Okay. And we pass what here? No, not the value in the local storage, but we want to change the language too. So for example, in the French, we want to change to French, and in English, we want to change to English. Right? So let's look if this works. So we're gonna have French and English, right? So we just need a way to show the button, the language that is being used. Any ideas how we do this? Like I want to have, for example, when French is pressed, I want to show, I don't know, make it show better. How do we make the button, like the used button, show? Do you remember from the first Angular course? Like when we made the menu and we had when the link is active, how do we do it? We have the active state. Yeah, in this case, we're not going to put the active state, but we're just going to change the class. Like for example, we can have something like I don't know, this is going to work. So yeah, we have the active like this, right? So we can say, like if you want to make it more professional, you can say here, you can make an array and say btn true. Then so we do a class binding and say btn info is true, and we can have active is true when what? When is the active true here? Yeah, the value in the local storage is that, but we also have a local variable called language here. So we can just compare it and say when language equals fr here, and language equals en. Yeah, be careful because you said you gave it an assignment. So say language equals fr. You need to say either double equal, so it's triple, or triple equal for identity. So as you can see now, the French set, English now, so on. Don't have the active. I think let's, instead of active, let's put btn one. Let's change the class to something else. Now English, French. Yeah. So right now, basically, what you need to do if you want to add for the footer or for else, you just need to add in the ilang set to add, for example, a new component, let's say footer here, and then add translation here and use it in the specified component. that you want to add a translation. So this is basically it for translating the header. So as you can see, like if I go to French, it will keep the French. If I refresh, it's going to stay in French because we get the value from local storage. So, okay. So this is done. Let's see what we can also put in the constants. So in our store service here, usually what do we store in constants? What are the values that we store in constants? Like when you create a constant in a program, what is the thing that you store there? Ah, it was a big fail. Some of you use. So in case you, like for example, in constants in the program that you write, usually you put values that don't change. So, for example, in our store service, we have this address of the server which never changes, right? So we can just take this from here. We can go in constants and say export constant server URL and something like this. Now we can use it here. We can say server URL, and we're going to pass ID equals ID. Yeah, so in case someone used the microphone and talked, I forgot to put my headphones, so sorry for that. So the same we're going to do here. I'm going to say server URL and products. We're going to have this. Server URL, it's outside. I think you remember this notation from the first JavaScript class. This is the interpolation, right? So you can pass a variable inside. So this is much clearer. Okay. See if this will work. So I think it didn't. We have an issue because why? The product follows. Because in our constants, yeah, we need to put all 3000. Now we should have the values here. Okay. Let's talk about ngIf. ngIf it's an Angular directive that allows you to output content based on, so for example, let's say we have sale, product on sale. So we want to output here for each component. We want to see if the product is on sale and we want to display that. And ngIf is something that you're going to use a lot. Angular. So let's say we don't need this anymore. So we go to our product class, and we have here save, boolean, and let's add save. That's false. Here is sale. Okay, and let's put in our DB. Add for some products. Yeah, sale. Ooh. This one, sale, false. Ooh. And for this one, false. So we'll see that we get the values now. So when we get the products, we get sales false. Okay. So what we need to do now is that we want to show some sort of tag here showing that the product is on sale. Anyway, okay, so let's go to the, where do we handle this component? What's this component called? What is the main page? Yeah, we can also show it in pizza detail. So you can go and see the pizza. You can also show it. For some reason this is broken. Not read the pizza detail component HTML. See why this is happening. As about 3000. Okay, so okay. Now store service here. We have products. This is fine now. So yeah, we can show here in the pizza detail. We can show some tag that the product is on sale. So we'll go there in our pizza detail component, our template, and we're gonna say here badge on save. Let's add also an icon. Okay. So refresh and you see that the product is on sale. Obviously, right now all the products are on sale, right? So we need to show only if this product is actually on sale. So we can say here in GIF, it's a sale, and we can see if the product is on sale. So obviously this product is not. If we go back to home, we can check the first one. This one is on sale. This one is not. Right? So we can do actually the same thing for the pizzas component. In home component, we have it's their product, so it's the product component. So you can say here we can say here set another div here actually. Sure. And I have another div. This is text again and here, and let's put the price here. For now. And we have the price here, so we do the same thing as in our pizza editor component. You can just take this here, and we add if pizza sale is show the. Actually, the problem here it's not pizza because it is product. So instead of pizza sale, it's product sale. Now we can show the products that are on sale. Okay. So you see that the problem is that now the pizzas that are not on sale, they have the prices on the left. So we need to add like a else statement. So if you want to do an else statement in the template, you can just create a new template. So it's like this. Let's say normal price, and we copy here, and we say badge info. We remove the ng here. Money. So here price. And here just going to say semicolon else normal price. Now you can see we either have a sale or we have the normal price. This is how you show content in the template depending on the condition in your component. Questions? Can I? Is it clear for you? Do you understand what happened here? So, okay, one says yes. Two says yes. Someone else? Okay, so in case you are afraid or something to say no, again, if this condition happens, we show this one. Otherwise, we say normal price and we show this template here. So this is an if-else statement in the template, just like the ng4, just like there's also ng switch, but we're not going to get into it now. So you can search Angular documentation and see more info on this. Well, let's make another one. Let's make another batch here because you like some badges. Let's say let's put this as danger, and let's put here another span. Let's make another example. Let's say ng if, let's say I don't know, product price is less or equal to 10. We have set here best value. So now we can show for all the products that are less or equal to 10. We can show that they are best value. So let's put plus here. Plus equals batch 1. So this is how you can conditionally show content on your template. Okay, so let's move on to forms. Any questions so far? Let me just commit this. GF. Okay. So let's go into forms, and first of all, let's make like another component. Let's say we make a login component, right? So we say we go to some page and we can put our credentials there. So let's make a new component. To generate components again. Okay. So I have a new component here. If I want to go to this component, to the newly created component, how do I do this? Can anyone type or say the steps, or I don't know, use the microphone and say exactly what would you do to, for example, show the login component in the menu and go there? Any ideas? Yeah, so for example, I created a new component. It's called login component, right? And I want to go to this component. Yeah, so you are saying about having already about the login logic, which we are not going to do here right now. Don't care about it. So, I just want to go to this component. So someone said, so Pierre said about going, add it in the router, right? So go in router, routing module. And here I said, it said add it in the router. So copy this, give a login. It's a login component. Okay, next step. I want to have it in the menu, right? How do I add it in the menu? Yeah, if you want to show it like that, yeah. So I need to add the router link now. Okay, so I go to header. The header where? In the component or the template? The template, okay. So here I do what? Control C, Control V, yes, exactly. Okay, so let's add it here somewhere. And I put here login. And we don't have a translation for this yet. You can add it if you want. So let's see if this works. So now we got to login. So say login works. Fine. Now let's make a login form. Do you remember how to make a login form? Like not a login form, but a regular form. How do you make a form in HTML? Well, form. Okay. So we have a form here. We don't care about the action now. So let's wrap this into a container. Copy paste bootstrap boilerplate. Yes, you are learning. You are getting there. So let's put from inside here. So right now in here, see, save. We have nothing here. Okay. We need to have inside. Let's say we have username. We have password, and we have some, I don't know, maybe between. It's a very bad looking form, so you can show the user role, right? So say the role of the user. So we're gonna say input. Actually, let's make a div form group times 3. Inside we're gonna have input text, and first we're gonna have a label. So we're gonna have like this. Okay. We have our inputs here. Actually, for the role, we're gonna have a select actually. Name, put username, label is gonna be username. Let's make it nice and have plus control. This is gonna be a role. So role ID is role, it's not disabled. And here we're going to need to have some options, right? Some options. And here we're going to have password. Type password. Here's password. This div is for this one. Okay. We're missing the div here. Here we have the div here. Let's look how this looks. Need to have control. Okay. So what are we missing here? Mid button. Okay. Let's add button. Right. Submit. And have submit. And 6. Okay. Let's put the title here. Okay. Let's see if this works. We don't have any roles here. Submit. We go on the same place. Yeah. Fine. The idea is that we need to make, in this case, we want to use Angular forms. Angular forms are really, really powerful. There are two types of Angular forms. There are template-driven forms that we're going to use in this course. There are also reactive forms. The difference between them is that the template-driven forms are, you set them up in the template, obviously. And the reactive forms are, they are driven by some observable streams. So they are a bit more complicated, and we're not gonna talk about them here. But you're free to go and check them out. Obviously, the reactive forms are more powerful and they are more used in the real world because they offer much more flexibility. This means, for example, that you create for the reactive forms, you create them in the component, so not in the template. And you're also able to test them, you're able to pass data from the components to the template and so on. And in this case, for our course, we're just going to have simple forms that don't require for you to have reactive forms. What you need to know is that the template-driven forms, they are kind of Angular creates in the backend creates also some sort of reactive forms. There's something called the form control, form groups, form arrays. So Angular creates in the backend creates structures for you. So to do this, you need first of all to import this. So you need to have in your imports here, you need to have the forms module. And we need to import them from because we're going to have a module from Angular. So for this to work, you need to import this forms module. And when you import this, all the forms that you create inside the application, they are going to be handled by Angular. I think I said React multiple times, right? This course instead of Angular. Anyway, so in our login component here, we can create a template variable. So we can create a template variable here. And to create a template variable, I don't know if you remember from the ngIf example. In this case, you created a template variable for this template here. So we said normal price. So basically here you can refer normal price as a variable inside the template, just like you can refer product and so on. So in our login component here, we're going to say login form equals to ng form. Even if you don't do this, Angular is going to create something like this for you, but we want to be able to have access directly to this form to see exactly what's happening behind it. So we can say here that when this form changes, right, we want to see what's happening to it. So let's make a debug function somewhere, and we pass the login form. Obviously, we don't have this debug function here, so we need to go to our component and make this debug function here. So debug. So now, if you go in our browser, fire up the console, yeah, you can see that every time we change something here, this should be changed. Save. I put changes, change. Okay. When we type here, we have, whenever we change the values inside the form, you see the changes in the console here. So we can see that, let's look how this looks. You can see that it has some controls inside. In this case, there's nothing because we haven't defined any structure for this one. You can see the value of it. Right now it's empty because again we don't have any values for it. You can see that it's valid. Valid is false. Pending is false. Disabled is false. We don't have any errors. This dirty and pristine, they are the opposite of each other. So basically, it's dirty when we have filled some values inside the form, and obviously pristine is the opposite of dirty. I didn't, kind of weird, the naming, instead of having clean, you have pristine. Anyway, they decided to name it like this. Touched happens when you touch some input. In this case, because we haven't defined any structure to this form, touched is false. So we have all these properties here, right? So let's say we go here, and for each of these inputs, we want to bind these inputs to the form. So we're just going to say ng model here. So whenever you say ng model like this, Angular understands that take this input here with this name and create a property in the form, property with the name username, for example, or role, password, and so on. So let's see what's happening now. So if I change something here, my ng form, if you look in the value, now we have username, role, password, right? We have bounded these inputs to the form. So as you can see now, valid true, invalid false. Since we don't have any validation rules, obviously the form is valid. What we need to understand about the Angular forms is that they work like a tree. So for example, you have the form being the root element, and each form group form controls inside. If you look here, we have a control object. You see that username is another form control that has also a valid, invalid state, has disabled, enabled, dirty, touched, untouched, value, and so on. You see you have the value here. So if, for example, if this list of this tree is invalid, the entire form is going to be invalid. So basically, it's like a tree. So every Angular form is just like a tree. It's if all the leaves are valid, the entire form is valid. So let's actually see the value of this form. And as I said, we can refer the login form in the template here. Okay, we can output it. You can say login form dot value and put it as JSON. So the idea is that right now it's empty, but if I type something, you see the values changes here. Right? So furthermore, you can bind it. You can two-way bind this form. For example, you can define some variables in the component. So we can go into our login component and say here, let's make I don't know. Let's make an interface here. Let's say support interface iUser. So here we're going to have username is string, password is string, and role can be either regular or admin. Right. So we have here, we can have user, which is an iUser. So right now we're going to say instead of having ng model here, we're going to bind it to the double way bind it. This means that also the properties that go down and also the events that come up are bounded to this element here. What I have here, it's username. Again, here we're going to take this guy here, which model. Bounded to user.role, and here each model is bound to user.password. So now, for example, if we put here the user, you cannot read properties the name of undefined. Yes, because you have one. Let's say, we'll give it some blank values. Username is empty. Password empty. And role by default is regular. So now, you can see this is our variable, our local variable. And here, if we change the values in the form, it will also update the username. Right? So I want to show you that this goes the other way around. So let's say we make a function here, the entername. And we say a set timeout. Actually, let's make set interval so it changes a lot. Every 200 milliseconds. And we say user, let's use the username. This username, I don't know, plus equals 1. We're just going to increment it. So I'm just going to show you that we call this changes in the component in the backend. The form is also going to update. So you see now, basically, we type inside the component. So it's double way bounded. This means that all the changes that happen in the component reflect in the form. Everything that happens in the form, like for example, if I change something here, you see, also updates in the component. Right? So obviously, this is not very useful, except if you want to troll someone, you want to make a really, really bad form. Say, no, this is your username, no, this is your password. The password, it's hidden by default by the input type password. We created the input here for password. Obviously, when you're going to send it over the network, it's going to be visible. Yeah, you can see it below, obviously. Like in this, right now, we don't care about security right now. We're just going to handle the form submission and the form validation. So let's remove this. So obviously, as your colleague said, you will not be able, you will not, in real life application, you will not keep the password in clear, you will not show like this. I'm not going to say the password is this. You're just gonna, when you're gonna send it over the network, you're gonna hash it. By the way, anyone of you know the difference between hashing and encrypting data? Encrypting? Like if you're talking about passwords. Like if I want to keep the password in my database, do I keep it hashed or I keep it encrypted? And what's the difference between them? Okay, hashed, why? what's the difference between hashing and encryption? Anyone? It gives a unique value as a result. Yeah, also encryption could give you a unique value as a result. You have encryptions that give you unique values. Encryption requires a key. It can or not. It can encrypt without a key. Actually, no, you cannot. You're right. Encryption requires a key. Yeah, so the difference is like this. A value that is encrypted can be obviously decrypted. You have the decryption key. A value that is hashed cannot be unhashed. So it's one way, right? So, for example, can you give me some hashing algorithm, some hashing algorithms example? Do you know any hashing? Like some guys use PHP, so you obviously stored in database. And yeah, so SHA is a hashing algorithm. MDA. MD5, yeah. So MD5 is it's also a hashing algorithm. MD5 is not very, very safe because there are dictionaries that are online. And the only way you can find out what's happening, you can see what the hashed string means is to use a dictionary. So basically you hash multiple values and you create a dictionary, and then you just look the hash in that table, and you see what was the original value. So this is the only way of getting the values back. Also, there are some other. There is, for example, in web, it's used a lot. Blowfish. It's one of the most secure. Now it works on Bcrypt. You need a library, PHP, whatever, to do that. So obviously, in this case, you will not show the password. You would not send the password in clear over the network. You would send a hashed value, right? So maybe make a hash mark, or I don't know, to hash the password and compare that hash to what you have in your database. You will not keep in your database ever. You will not keep passwords in clear. It's really unsafe. Okay, so returning to our form, which is really unsafe now. Let's make an array with rows here. Let's make rows. So make an interface here. Export interface row. So we have value, string, and we have a label. It's also a string. So rows is an array. So here we're going to say we're going to have value is label is say uppercase regular. And I'm going to have label is administrator. So now I want to populate this select with options. How do I populate the values that I have in the component? I want to use these rows here. I want to have them dynamically coming from somewhere, maybe. To populate the select here. How would I do this? Any ideas? I want to have options for each one of the rows that I have in the component. ng4, yes. So here we're going to have ng4 equals that rows. gonna bind it to the value of this. Let's roll here. Here, I'm gonna put row label. Well, let's see this in our browser. So now we have our selection that is populated from the backend, the component, the backend of the front end. Okay. So let's see if in case we submit this form, we have two options. You can either put for this button, you can put an event, so click here, or we just call here in the login form. We say and you submit, submit or submit. No, and you submit. So we need to put here a function. Process form like this, and here we're just going to say login form dot value. I got this value from, if you remember, you go in form here, you have the value here, so we can get access to this properties here. So we need to make this function. This is form, and we're going to receive here user, which is an iUser, right? Because remember, the form is bounded to this variable here. So here you can, I don't know, maybe submit it to your database, do whatever you want. Actually, let's not pass the value, let's pass the entire form here. Okay. Let's put the form here. So if we look in the properties here for the form, you can see that you have this property is called valid and invalid. So we can also double check in the backend. So we can say here if form is valid, I don't know, do something, and in this case let's console log form value. Otherwise, let's show another. Stop it. Okay. So obviously, in our case here, if I do something like this, it's going to submit because we don't have any validation. But immediately, if we go here and add for this inputs here, if we add required, and here required, okay. We're going to see that if we change something here, if we look on the valid, now it's false. Same here. Let's go to the next change. So now it's valid, right? If I remove this and I submit, I get the invalid message here. Is it clear so far? Makes sense to you? Anybody? I mean, everybody understood the template variable here, the login form. For example, how I do this and how I like, for example, if I want to have a template variable for the input here, let's say for the password, how can I create a template variable for this guy here? Any ideas? Like I want only to debug the password input. Any ideas? I want to have a template variable to, for example, you have a template variable for login form, right? Like this. Password, yes. We're going to say password equals to, let's say, I don't know, in this case, ngModel. Let's say, in this case, ngModel. Now, if I output here to the user, I see password dot value, then JSON. So you have the password here. Basically, you can create template variables for each one of these. So you can say, for example, for the username, here you can say username equals ngModel, and instead of password, we say username. Because we assigned to this template variable, we want to assign something. You can say here, I don't know, username equals to blah, if you want. Blah doesn't exist now. But because we don't have any variable called blah, right? But in this case, I assigned some value that exists in this template here. So in this case, I put ngModel. I said the username variable equals to ngModel. So in this case, if I say something here, I'll update this one. So you can refer here. Yeah, so if you have other variables, like for example, I don't know, let's say username equals username, which is kind of redundant. I think it might be a circular dependency here. See here. Username. I don't know. You can say it's equals to user. Oh, we have user JSON here. Photo of name user not found. Yeah, so you can only have template variables, so you can assign only values that are available in the template. In this case, I think it's we don't have a user variable in the template. So for now, if you want to just see this specific model here, you can just assign it. Anyway, it was just a set. So now let's show some error messages here. So let's say let's do the same for the select. Okay, so say here this is also required. And let's put here another template variable row equals ngModel. Fine. So let's put here in case you have an error. So we say we have our debug function. Let's say if we have a change here, we debug username. So let's see if we, oh, where's this going to? So if we change something here, you see we debug this and we have our ng model, our value valid, so on. So we can debug, we can use the function that we use for the one. We can use to debug the component itself. So we can see here that if you have, if it's valid, so you can say if it's invalid, we show something here. And say here, I don't know, let's say if ng if, and say username valid, and go back here and say username single, right? So by default, we have something here, and you see it disappeared immediately after we type. I go back, the same we have here. So let's do the same for the others. Let's create, actually this div, let's make it make here an alert. I'll say div alert danger. And we say here ng if username errors required, show username is required. I got these errors again. If we look in the ng model here, we have this errors object here. You see, we have by default we have the required. This will only show when we have an error for the control, for that control. So we have username is required. Let's add here min length of 4. So if you have the min length of 4 and we type something, you can see that now in our errors, in our ng model, we have in our errors, we have a min length object with required length and actual length, right? So you can get access to these errors. The same we can say here, div and say ng if username errors min length. Now it was, yeah, we can say we need type let's put here username errors min length required length was required length minus username errors min length actual length. So let's see if this works. So I type something here. Now it will update. So it says we need to type update the error automatically. Okay. Let's do the same for the select. And just copy this. Say here row is invalid. Say row is required. Obviously, in this case, row is empty. Maybe we add another row here and say total value, default value empty value and label this. The same we can do for password here. Password is required. The same we can put here in local file. Text. Actually, let's make instead of min length here, let's put the type is email, and we say here instead of email, username has to be an email. Right? So in here, let's say if I type something, cannot read the property name like that. No, username. Yeah. Yeah. Password. Okay. So if I type something here, see why is this not showing? Let's put here also email. If I type something here, so you have the email error showing. If I put something like this, automatically. And if I put empty here, row is required. So one issue that we have now is that these errors show by default, which is really ugly, not very useful. Did you understood what happened here with the errors? How I show the errors? So again, we go for we have the template variables for each one. So we have, for example, for username, we define template variable called username, and then we make the div that we show only if this username is invalid. So it's the properties of the form. It's automatically generated by Angular. So in this case here, you can see that if we have these errors, like error required, we show this error here. If not, it's not an email, we show the email error and so on. The issue is that this by default, like when we have the form, like this, they still show. Like it's not very good practice to show the errors before the user has inputted something, right? So let's make a small experiment, and let's say here, let's output username, class name. See if this works. Entry model, see if this is like this. Yeah, we don't have the class name here showing for some reason. Yeah, well, valid, valid, valid. Yeah. So let's actually put for each one of this, put the output like this: username touched, username dirty, username valid. You can say here valid, dirty, and touched. You see this works. You see touched is false, dirty is false, valid is false, right? So by default, these are the values that we have here. When I click on this, even if I didn't type anything, touched is true. This happened to this leaf. By default, for to this input, by default, the form is now touched. If I type something, now it's dirty, right? And it's valid in this case, for some reason. Even it's supposed to be check for the email. It's email, errors, email. Apparently, this is a valid email. It's an Angular mess here. Anyway, so for this input here, you can see that this now it's true, type dirty is true, and so on. So we want to show this whenever I typed or I touched the specific input. So I say if the username is invalid and I touched or it's dirty, I say username touched or username dirty, right? So now we don't have the errors anymore. But if I start typing, if I go back, we have this error here, right? Let's remove this. Where my email get? Oh, okay. No. That's right. So we don't have any errors. We start typing something. We have the email error. Like this. Okay, so we can do the same for the others. Let's say if this is invalid and row types or row 30, the same for the password. And now okay, we don't see the validation messages anymore. Furthermore, you can make this login component. You can go in the CSS here. You can say here if we look at the classes, if we inspect this, you see that we have ng invalid, ng dirty, ng touched. So these are getting updated. If I refresh and I inspect this, you can see that Angular by default says ng untouched, ng pristine, ng invalid. If I type something, it becomes ng dirty. And now it's ng touched. So we can use these classes that we have here to style this form here. So we can go inside the login component CSS that only applies to this component here. So we can say ng valid, and if it's required, or have ng valid required, and say for the left as 5 pixels with green, And we can say for ng invalid, but not the form. Say border left is 5 pixels, solid red. Now, by default, you see we have this for each of them. We have color. So when I type, also the style changes, right? So we can automatically use the styles and the classes that Angular adds to these inputs to style this component. Also, we can use for a submit button, because now even if the form is not valid, you can still submit, right? So we get this validation message here, but we don't want the user to submit the form while the form is invalid. So what we can do is we can use the property of the form. Yeah, we can use also ngIf, so we can hide the button completely if we want. But also we can say here disabled if login form is invalid, right? So now by default we cannot submit. If we type something, still cannot submit, and still can submit because it's not an email. And now we can submit the form. So we have the right here. Obviously, this is not very foolproof because I can go here, I can inspect the element, and I can say I can remove the disabled. I can submit, but that's why we added the check in the component. Also, never rely on JS validation or HTML validation, right? So we have the idea is to layer your validation for the forms. So we have, first of all, we have the HTML5 validation, that naive validation, required, email, whatever. Then you have your JS validation that can be also modified because you can go inside the JavaScript in the client. Because remember, this application will be basically this JavaScript application is going to be downloaded in the client's computer, right? So it's going to be on the client's computer. So the person that uses this application can modify it and can, for example, remove this check here and just submit this data to the server. So basically, you need to have a third validation on the server that validates the form, and last but not least should be a validation or structure in the database if you work with databases. So you need to validate at each step to have to catch in case you have yeah. So ngIf removes the element from DOM, but nothing. So you could say, for example, here the same. Say ngIf login form valid. You can only show it. The form is valid. We don't have anything. We have here. No. Now we have the submit button. Also, you can use something called hidden. Invalid. So this is not gonna remove from DOM. It's just gonna hide it. It's the opposite of ngIf. The same as here and here. So now I have it. But if you look here, if we see that this button here basically gets commented basically. This is how Angular hides. Yeah, the user can modify it, exactly. Even if the user doesn't use this this form, right? So let's say you make a request to your server, user can capture the request, modify it, and so on. So you can use something like Postman, or to make the request manually to Coral or something, and make a request per server. So you have to assume that you should never trust the user. You have to assume that the user doesn't use your UI, so it's using his own. It's making the request manually. So when you design the server part, you have to assume that it's not going to use the UI every time. So this is just like a side note. Okay. Also, we have another property here for the form. It's called submitted. So you can say here, let's say div plus, I don't know, where success. Let's say here ng if login form submitted, form has been submitted. Right? So submit, and now we have this to show the user that something happened. Obviously, you can make this better. You can have at the bottom, you can say reset form. So obviously, you don't need to. It's not a good practice to just to hide the submit and show this, because people they click it and need to remove this. It's enough to disable the button. The submit the form. So in the submit form here, you can do whatever you want. You can send this to some server. You can use the rest service to make a request to our server. Anyway, so let's do actually a practical example. Let's do our pizza up here. It's the time. Let's do a practical example. So let's add here. We have a promo code. So let's add the promo code there. So first of all, let's do our functionality first. Let's go to yes here. Okay, so we have this method here, and let's make. We have our card. Yes, we have our card component somewhere here. And it has the template here. So here we need to show if we have any promo code. And comment this. So let's see what we need to do in our case here. So in our card.ts, we need to define some promo code. So obviously this is not enterprise quality code. We will not use this in production. You need to test it very well. This is just an example. But let's say we have some promos. We set a new map. And here, let's say we have first promo code is I don't know, give something promo 5, and it's 5%, and we have promo 10, it's 10%. So these are available promos that we can use. We need to change. We need to change the structure of the card. So we need to add here our promo code. It's going to be a string. By default is empty. We're going to have a discount, is a number, and by default is 0. Right? It's going to be a discount in percent. Okay. So when we're going to do the promo here, let's make a function called setPromo. So we're going to have a string. It's going to be a promo type string. It's going to return a boolean if we manage to apply the promo or not. Right? We're going to have discount code. It's going to be this available. This available promos. Get promo. So we're going to try to get the value from the available ones. If we don't have them, we'll say if not, there's no undefined. Discount code. I'm going to say this promo code equals promo, and this discount equals this code. And return true, else return false. What have we forgotten here to do when we apply the promo in our card? There's something missing here. So we apply the discount code to check if we have the value in our available discount. And what do we need to do here? Any ideas? What we forgot to do? Check if the value is greater than 0. What value? Like when you apply a promo code, what happens usually? Yeah, but we have the values. They come from this map here. They come from. We have specific promo codes. We have one promo 5 that's a 5% discount, and we have promo 10 which is a 10% discount. Right? So it's only specific values. So we don't need to check anything because they cannot be any other promo code. We're only allowed. So we check here if we are able to get promo 5, for example. So if this is not more undefined, we say this promo code is promo and this discount is discount. But something needs to happen here, right? So we have a discount. What do we need to do to our card? Again, and again, and again. Come on, people, pay attention, look in the code. What's happening every function, when increment, when you create a card, when you delete a card, what's happening every time? What do we do every time? We refresh the card, we calculate the card. Okay. Now we need to calculate the card. Yes, calculate card. Well, now we need in the calculate card, we need to take into account the discount. So we're going to say this total, say minus equal this total times this discount over 100, right? Now we're gonna apply the promo code. What else we need to do is we need to go in our store service, and when we initialize the store, the cart here, we need to say this cart promo code equals to persistent cart promo code. So we get the values from the local storage, and this cart discount equals persistent cart discount. Okay, and again we need to calculate the price here. This is called calculate price. Fine. So this is all the logic that we need to do. Now we need to set up the form, our card component here. So in our card component, we need to add we need to add this form to convert it to an Angular form, and let's say we give it a promo form equals ng form. So we get access to it. We have again an ng submit event equals apply promo code promo form value. We're going to have our input here. We're going to assign it to a variable, So we're going to say here, this input name, really the name is promo. And so ng model, so we assign it to a form, to this form. So we say that this ng model, we say that this promo belongs to this form here. Then I'm going to say it's required. Min length is 4. Okay. And we're going to say promo equals ng model. So again, we can make a debug function here. First of all, we need to have apply promo code here. Say apply promo code. Just put font everything. Okay, and let's make a debug. So whenever we change this, debug the font. Let's see if this works. Let's see. So if I change something here, it's undefined. Promo form, no form. So now we have the form here. we can do the same as previous. We can for this button, you can say it's disabled. Case from right. We can go outside our div here and say alerting for the same as we did before, in case the form is submitted. Form submitted. Say submitted. Okay. And we need to have a div for our errors, right? So we need to have alert enter. Actually, no, it's just a div because you're going to say ng if promo valid and promo touched or promo dirty. I'm going to show the errors here. So I'm going to say here, first of all, if first one, I'm going to say empty promo. Second one, I'm going to say to show, I don't know, some validation messages. Here we're going to say ng if promo errors required. There's going to be ng if promo errors in length. So basically, in here in Angular, you can have different validation. You can have max length of this. You can have pattern. You can pass your pattern or regex if you want. So you can have all these properties. Let's say your validation. Let's go to the documentation here. We can have custom validators. You can have all of this above. Yeah. For example, look required. Then we can have a custom validator. You can create your component. Yes. So you can read the documentation if you want to read more about other validations, for example, like the pattern validators and so on. Should be some listed here. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to our project. Okay, and what do we need to check here? Let's go back into our project here. Let's see if we add 105. The price changes here. It's submitted, but nothing happened because we did what? When we submitted, yeah, we didn't call the method in in the store, right? So we need to say here, let's say also one. So this should return something like an array with promo symbol. Let's check if this is happening like this. So when you submit, have promo and something for the value that we submitted here. So now we need to say here if not there's no or undefined foreign promo let's actually define a message here. Let's say promo message string, and let's put this here. Let's put it here in the promo message. Okay, so if this one actually it's more than one, so we go first to check the negative. Let's say this promo message is wrong input. Step string, so string here. So this promo message is wrong promo code. Okay, other than that, we can say if store set promo from promo. And here we can just return if you want. So don't continue. Say this promo message equals discount applied. Other, we say this promo message equals say here empty. Okay. So let's check our project and see what's happening here. So promo 5. You see that the price changed here. So we calculated. So promo 10. Change again. If we remove this, the wrong promo code. Okay, so one issue is that we cannot see the promo code again. Okay? So we can just go to our card component here. And here we can just say card code. Here we can say the amount. Discount. And let's check. Put promo 5%, 10. So yeah. So this is how you use this. You can quickly create a form to work with Angular forms to add functionality to your application. You see, it's quite easy to just link these forms to your components. Let me just commit this. Let me know if you have questions, please, because you are all very, very quiet, and I feel that I kind of lost a lot of you. fine, it's clear, okay. Amazing. When I first started with Angular, it took me some time. Of course, I started with AngularJS. By the way, I don't know if I told you the history of Angular, how what are the versions of Angular. Initially, I don't think I told you. So I think in 2013, I think there was Google launched AngularJS, which is also referred as Angular 1. And it was and it's still used now, but it's not supported anymore. But some old projects still exist on AngularJS, and it is a completely different framework than this, right? It was using vanilla JavaScript. It wasn't using TypeScript. So anyway, completely different. The paradigm is completely different. Then we have, after a few years, after 2 or 3 years, Google decided that they need to change the framework completely because React appeared, and the React is made by Facebook. And React, in some parts, is a better framework than Angular. In some other parts, it's not. First of all, because React is not actually a framework; it's just a library, and Angular it's a full framework. You have functionality for absolutely everything. So you have Angular 2, and then they started to work on Angular 3. But Angular 3 never happened. Like they started to work on that, and I don't know what they decided, but they jumped to Angular 4. So if you go to an interview and they ask you if you ever work with Angular 3, remember that that's a trap. Angular 3 never existed. So you have Angular 2, 4, and then you have up to the latest version, which is Angular 9 that we are using now. And all of this version up from version 2, they are compatible as syntax, meaning that you have Angular 5 application, you have the same syntax that we have now in Angular 9, more or less. Some features are new in Angular 9 that are not in 5 and so on. So basically, when you see, for example, if you want to apply to Angular development positions, you will not apply for AngularJS. Be very careful. You will just apply for Angular 2+. So all the positions that are specified as Angular 2+, like from 2 to onwards, right? Because AngularJS is not, it's a completely different framework. So this is like the small gist for version in Angular. It's what we did in this course with Angular. It's barely scratching the surface of what this framework can do. It seems complicated now because you lack the practice, or you don't understand some concepts, or you haven't got the trick on some concepts. For me, when I started, it was quite hard. Like it was really difficult for me to understand what are these template variables, why the template variables only work in templates and don't work in the components, why if I make, I don't know, why do I need to inject the services in the components, why do we have 2 types of forms, why do we have template-driven forms like this, and why do we have reactive forms, why reactive is better, and so on. The idea is that there are a lot of features, there's a lot of documentation, a lot of tutorials, and again, as I said in the first session, I'm not expecting you to go like after this course and be fluent in Angular. That's why in the exam you will have all this code available for you. You have all the documentation. You'll have access to Stack Overflow if you want to have access. You'll be able to ask me stuff if you're stuck. So I don't expect you to memorize all the stuff. I expect you to understand some concepts and to be able to apply them. So maybe let's do something now that's related to what you're gonna receive during the exam. So basically, in the exam, you're going to have some short story. I'm going to look for the subjects from last year, and I'm going to send them to you. Just like, for example, let's say you have like a car service, right? So you have to manage some cars. So you need to define car structure. You need to be able to show this structure, iterate all of the cars that you have in the list. You have to be able to submit these items to some database, like our JSON database. You need to be able to modify them, update them with add more cars and delete cars to the forms and so on. So I did for last year, I did an entire exam ticket. If we go on GitHub, I did an entire exam ticket for the students. So you have exam example here. So this is the requirement here. So basically, you have to create an application that manages a collection of cars. You have to describe your car business. You have to have some entities like this that have a brand, which is a string, a model, which is a string, the publication here, number, price, number, and so on. In your case, you can implement whatever framework, doesn't matter if it's Bootstrap 3 or not. Last year it was Bootstrap 3. I showed them maybe the latest Bootstrap or Foundation, whatever you want. So we see that for only creating an Angular application and creating 3 pages, creating some components and some navigation that you already have in this course. You can just take the course that you have now, modify the navigation, create your components. And I think up to this, it's easily done in 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I think. Then you have a component to add an entity. For example, create a form. You have your JSON server that you already have in the class project, so you just need to start with the JSON server. Just say npm start server, whatever, start the server. Just look in the commands. You can go in package JSON here. And you look in the commands and you have start server and say npm run start server. That's it. You get another point. In the JSON server, then you go in the DB and here you create another endpoint and say cars, I don't know, cars or whatever you receive in the exam. It's an empty endpoint, right? So if you look now in the JSON server, we have a new endpoint here with cars, right? So again, easy point. Then you have you replace your hardcode list that you had in the server in the service with the one that you have in the server. So you just make fetch cars, whatever you say, HTTP get cars, and you get the values here. Then this is a bit more complicated, but we're gonna discuss now. Maybe I'm not gonna give you probably edit and delete it, but the edit I'm not gonna give you probably this year because you didn't have time to go through all of them. So you have some validation to implement. Like for example, for the power field, we're just gonna say max instead of min length we're required to just say max and we put 100 and it's not allowed. Like for example, in our pizza app, I'll give an example here. We go here, say here max, let's put 100 here. Let's have another this here, max. Right. So if you go in our promo and we put here 300, you should get the max error. Obviously, this is not a text field. It's not a number, it's a text field. So you can just add your validation like this, your inputs. Let's look. Then so you have this validation and this stuff that we did today. And then you just need to make some report page. You need to add some values or to make some statistics, more statistics. What's important is that you have the video for this tutorial. So you have it here. This is the tutorial. So this is the implemented car app. And I'm gonna send you on Slack. I'm gonna send you the YouTube video for this example. I don't have the link here. Anyway, so it's not that hard with what is done, given the fact that you have access to all the documentation, all the code that has been written so far. You just need to practice a bit, create a new Angular application, create a new component, add the link in the menu, then add a form. After you submit the form, submit the data in the database. So let's do this now because we have some more time. So let's say we have right now we have our products here. By the way, have any questions for the exam? Yeah, of course, you can use absolutely everything that was implemented in the past. You can use my code, you can use your code, whatever. You have access to absolutely everything. I think it's next week, if I remember correctly. It's next Monday, and for the project, I received an email from François saying that we can allow some extensions from the project. We don't know how to edit elements in the database. Yeah, you can look in the tutorial. It's a 3-part tutorial. It's like 3 hours to explain that part. But probably you're not going to have edit. So you're not going to receive, you're not going to edit stuff in the database. We're just going to do a small example now with our product. So it's going to be much easier than the project that was presented in the tutorial. I understand that there were some special circumstances and it wasn't ideal. So the exam is not going to be as hard as it was last year. Most of the grade is going to come from the project. Okay. So don't stress, but try to practice a bit until Monday. So don't start practicing Saturday or Sunday night. Try to make an Angular application from scratch. Obviously, the exam, I encourage you to come with the application already done. Like I mean, coming with a new Angular application without any components inside. That you have all the node modules. You don't have to do npm install, wait for all the stuff to be installed. So do this before the exam, so you don't have to waste time. I had two students last year. They were using last year we were using the Amazon Cloud, and they were using the Insta computers, and they just created completely new project, and npm install was taking forever, and they lost like 20 minutes to install all the components. So come with a working Angular application already in the exam, so you don't waste time. I'm not gonna ask you to share your screen. I'm gonna ask you to be fair, but I'm not gonna stay on top of you and see what are you doing, what are you doing, what are you doing. If you have questions, you can ask me. I prefer that you ask me than cheat. I don't know, asking someone else to do your exam or stuff like that. Okay, so let's see how we can make a small admin for this product. So let's make a new component here. So let's add a new component. Let's say ng generate component pizza list. Ng generate component pizza add. So we're going to have a list of pizzas on one side, and on one side we're going to have a form to add pizzas, right? So let's go to our components. So we have our pizza list component here. How do I add this to my application if I want to go and visit this component? How do I do it? Yes, we did this several times this course. I want to go and visit pizza list component. Guys, please, it's the last half of hour for this course. Pay attention. How do I add this pizza list component into my application? I want to go visit. App pizza list. Okay, but I want to go in the browser and say / pizza list. How do I do it? Routing. Good. So first thing, we go to app routing module. We copy one of this. Say pizza list component is pizza list component. Okay, you can add it in the menu if you want. We're not going to do this now because we don't have time. So now we go here. We have pizza list works. Okay. So inside this pizza list component, I want to use this add pizza, right? So we need to make the pizza list here. Let's have a div container, have a row. Inside here we have div, I don't know, md8 plus div, md4. We have two divs, and inside here we have app pizza add. So let's check it. As you can see on the left, we have nothing, and on the right, we have the component of the pizza add works, right? Let's quickly, if I want to get access to the products, what do I do? What's the next step? Like, think like this, like you're on the exam, right? So we need to handle some pizzas, some products. Okay. How do I get access to the products that I have in the database? The DB. How do I access the DB? What did we use in the product? So let me reformulate. Where do we make the call to the database? What do we use to handle data between our database and our UI? The service. Great. So we have a store service here. So here we have fetch products, right? So we can go and say the pizza list component in our component. Yeah, we need to inject the service. Say private store service. Import it, then make a local variable, let's say products. Now, when we need this, we need to call what of the service? Guys, think you're in the exam now. HTTP servlet. We don't have servlets here. We need to call this method from the service. So we need to go here and say this store fetch products, right? So this fetch products returns an observable string. To get access to the stream, you need to subscribe. Subscribe. This is going to return product. That product. I'll say this product equals products. So let's check if this happens in our network. We made a call here. You see you have code for all of this data. Fine. Now we need to do what? What's the next thing in the pizza list? Let's say this is an admin part of our application. So we get access to login, then we get access here, and we need to display it. That okay? Yes. That means yes. Means we. So Russian whatever. You got me there. So let's say we have a table. So we have a table, class table. Inside we have 2 rows times 2, and inside we have EH times 5. So let's see what's happening here. So now this is not EH, this is TD. Okay, so we have a table. What is the head of this table? Okay, we have name. Then we have description, price, image, and then I think we have if it was on sale or not, right? Save. Then here we need to do what? ng4, great. So ng4 what? Please type ng4 what? ng4 let products of products. Here we have product name. Just copy this. Product description. Product price. Product image. You can put this in an image tag. One. Actually, you can just whatever. And product save. Let's check. We have our pizza table here, right? Now, what do we need to do now? Here on the right, the pizza add. We need to be able to add products in the database. The button, but the button is linked to what? So in here on the right, we need to add we need something that we did today, a form. Okay. So inside pizza add, we go here in the pizza add component, and we create a form. Form. Don't have any action. Again, we create a template variable. Let's say product form equals to ng form. Inside here, we have, let's say, div form group. Div form group, let's see, this is times 5. Come on. Times 5. And inside, we're going to have our label plus input. Come on. Emmet. Doesn't want to. Form. That's fine. Okay. On this side here. we say label input. First thing is what? Name. Don't forget to add the name attribute here. Name. Add ng model. Okay, next. We need to have an ID here. Okay. This is name. However, I need to add an ID to the description. Let's make this a text area actually. Text area. Name is description. Same. So ng model will bind this input to the form. So this is going to create a structure like, let's say, form. Inside we have name, description, price, and so on. So this is going to, when you're going to submit the form, you're going to have the value as this. Then we need to have, what was the next one? Description price. Name equals price. Again, ng model. It's really easy. Here we have image. Name equals image. Ng model again. And here let's make a select. This is sale. And here we're going to make a select. Select. Or we can put a radio, whatever you want. Sale. Inside here you have option times 2. We're going to have the value, we're going to bind the JavaScript value. So we need to have true, otherwise it's going to be a string true. So put the value like this. False. We have true or false. Actually, no. Yes. No. Okay. What do we need next? The button. A button type equals submit. Submit. Okay. Let's check our form now. So it's really ugly, by the way, because we didn't add the classes. So we need to add here the for label. Also, I'm missing what for label. Yeah, we didn't. I didn't add. Yes, I didn't add them because it's not important now. You can live without them. You can add them at the exam. It's fine. You put an ID here and so on. So put class equals for control. Same for text area. Same for price. Image. Here, I'm not going to ask you to do image uploads or stuff like that. It's enough to just put a link to fix some photos. It's not. Okay. So we have from control to see how they look. Again, ugly but less ugly. Next, we need to add template variables. How do we add template variables? To be able to handle the validation. We just did this. So we have, okay, as we said, we have now our name or whatever we want. Name equals ng model. Name. Go here. We have description equals ng model. We have price equals ng model. And you see, it's really repetitive, so it's not. If you do it like once or twice, it's going to be in your fingers. The image equals ng model. And the same for sale. Ng model. Fine. Now let's add validation. So just as we did the last time, we say here div class is alert info, to say if product form submitted, we show this form submitted. Then for each one of this, you go and show the errors, right? You go and say we have a div first, and we have ngIf name invalid and name touched or name dirty. We show the validation errors. So for all of those, we put here required. You're going to receive some validation rules. So here I'm going to say if alert injure. You can say here ngIf name errors required. So here name is required. Now I can just go and copy this and just replace the, for example, here. This is going to put description. Copy this everywhere. Description. Price. And here, let's say we put the price and make it put type is number, and let's put max 471. So here, price error max. Price is still right. Oh, okay. Here, image. Okay, so you got the gist of it. Now, if we say something, go back, name is required, go back, description is required, put 40. Here it's an issue with Angular because you need to use this button. Doesn't know the. If you put something like this, it cannot work. Yeah, there is a workaround for this. I'll put in the email, in Slack, and there's also in the tutorial. There is a workaround. Again, put here this one. Here we have. Required. So this is the form which is done. So it took 10 minutes to make the form. It's going to take 20. Button time submit. You're going to say here disabled. It's product form is valid. Okay, and then we need to add here the event and just submit equals process one. When I have product form. So now in the pizza Hut component, this is form. Again, remember the drill. If form is valid, say alert, bad, whatever. You can just return here if you want. Then, if everything is fine, we can import the service, the store service. Let's say private store. This is store service. And inside this one, let's make a post product. We're going to have post return. You can say return any here, so don't worry about it. We have return this HTTP post. We're going to post here. I'm going to say server URL and product. Obviously, being a post, you have to pass something. So we don't have a product. We need to add a product here. Product. So now, let's see if this works. So if everything is okay, we say this store post product pass form value. Remember, we can also do a double way binding. We can say define here product here, and we can say ng model with double with also square brackets and round brackets inside. So if you want, you can use like that. So this is enough also. So you have post value. Because this is observable, we have to subscribe so that the request is made. So we're going to make subscribe. This is going to be the server response. So we're going to have P. This is going to be returned from the server. And let's say console log. Actually, let's do old school. Say alert. Product posted. You can even add here if you want an error. Say error. If you have an error, say alert. Oh. Product schools not posted. So let's test this code. See what's happening. Look in our network tab here, so we have blah 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 blah. Put 20 image. Save this and we submit. So you see, product is posted. We have the request done here, and we don't have any response here, which is weird because we should have at least a response that says, okay, this is what I created. But if you look at the status code, it's 201, which is created. So now if you go and look in our database here and refresh, we have an extra product that we add. Okay? So the problem is that here, if I add another one, you see this wasn't updated here. So the parent component doesn't know that we created a new product. So it needs to know to create a product, to get new product. So if I submit again and again, see now we have many products. We can add them. So what we need to do is that we need from this component, like here, we need to notify the product list component to update, to get new products. So to do so, if you remember from the first Angular course, the components, they communicate top down via properties and from down to top via events. So we need to create an event. We have an output here I know it's the first time we do this with the output, but let's say product update. So we have output from Angular core, and this is an event emitter. And be careful, it's not event emitter from Protractor. This is wrong. It should be event emitter. Yeah, from Angular core. We have event emitter from Angular core. And we need to type this. This is a boolean. We can put whatever we want here. We can mix whatever we want. And we instantiate here new event emitter boolean, and we'll pass. So yeah. Okay. So what we need to do is that we need to notify for this to update, and we say here this product update emit true. So we just emit something, some value that it was updated. So now we're going to catch this event in the pizza list. Remember that pizza list component has this pizza add here. So our event is called product update. So we're going to say here product update. We're going to do something. We're going to call some method here. So in the pizza list component, you can say you can abstract this into a function and say here fetch product, or let's say update product. Right. So first we initialize to say this fetch products, and in the pizza list component we say fetch products. So let's remove the alert from here. Let's check. So if I add new value, price is 32. Say no, I submit. It's been updated here also. I submit again and so on. So we add new values. So every time we submit here, this component gets them from the database. Make sense? Do you want me to explain again? Okay. So this is the basic stuff that you're going to need to do for the exam. Basically, you create your form. You have your element that is going to fetch some entities. Going to have a child component that's going to do this, and then when it's going to be done, it's going to update something. So yeah, this is basically, if you do this, basically you have it in the bag. And then let's say you're going to have like requirements to do the total stock of your product. I don't know, or the total, how many pizzas do you have, how many products do you have in stock, or stuff like this. It's not very hard. Yeah. So for last year, there was also a requirement to, when you click on this, to update this form. So you can imagine how you could do this because you already have the get product by ID. So when you click on this, you fill this form into the product and then update that product. It's already exemplified in the tutorial for last year, but I'm not going to ask you to do this. So now if you go on our homepage, you can see we have like a lot of products to update. Right? We can add this guy to cart, this guy, and so on. So it's okay for you? Okay. Let me know on Slack if you have stuff that's unclear. I'm going to put the link for the last year tutorial for the exam, the solving of the exam. I'm going to look because they're on the old laptop. I have the old exam tickets. I'm going to pass them to you also on Slack for you to practice. And try to work a bit with Angular forms. And that's it. It's not a really big deal to pass this exam. So you can send me either with WeTransfer or some sort of or in the attachment of the email, or you just give me the GitHub repository, and I can clone the project. It's up to you. I prefer for you to send me the GitHub repository, so if you have updates, I can update. Just send me a message, please update and so on. I'm gonna check today with Francois and see if the extension applies. One last thing, I got answer from that email I sent yesterday, and people at Allianz Technologies are interested in after the quarantine is finished to start collaborations with students. So if you are interested, I can put the resumes on a server somewhere. So only with your agreement, I can do this, and they can take a look and take your data and have you in their view when they need to hire for internships or stage or whatever. So if you're interested in sending the resumes to those persons, let me know, and I can put them on a server so they can see your projects and your resumes. Okay. Okay. So yeah, this has been the last course. Please take advantage this week and contact me on Slack if you have stuff that you don't understand, so I can help you, so you don't end up the middle of the exam that you don't know what to do. Yeah. So that's it. Questions? Yes, I'm going to post the video as usual, and you're going to also have the exam, the solving of the exam from last year. So you're going to have extra 6 hours of videos if you want, if you have time for this. Okay. So good day, good week, and see ya. Bye.